en un lugar de La Mancha, de cuyo nombre no quiero acordarme.
It is a truth universally acknowledged that a single man in possession of a good
Aujourd'hui,
fortune
maman est
must-
morte. Ou peut-être hier, je ne sais pas.
In 2025, the global audiobook industry saw exciting changes in audiences, products, and markets. The U.S. remains the sales leader with double-digit annual growth, while demand is rising around the world for new languages and new catalog offerings. Welcome to The Spoken World. I'm Christopher Keneally. Audiobooks have changed the game in publishing, and now there's a podcast that covers the audio revolution sweeping through the global book business. The Spoken World debuted in March at the London Book Fair. Since then, we've reported news and inside information on the worldwide $7 billion audiobook industry from London, Frankfurt, Madrid, and New York. In 2026, The Spoken World will return with all new podcasts. To close out 2025, I spoke with industry analyst Javier Celaya, founder of DosDucky.com, for his review of the year's top stories in audiobooks. Javier Celaya, welcome to The Spoken World.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure being here.
Well, we're very happy to have you join us as we look back at 2025. In podcasting, at least, the word of the year for 2025 is video. Audio, and audiobooks especially, is far from a dying medium. Audiobooks may have a smaller audience than podcasts, yet the sector outperforms in revenue per listener. So, Javier Celaya, what accounts for the sustained strength of audiobooks in this highly competitive media landscape?
You mentioned video for podcasting, but I can reassure you that next year we also had video in the audiobook industry, not as a way of listening, but as a tool to make audiobooks more discoverable, especially on platforms like TikTok, Instagram, where video is the key driver for communicating and making things happen. But let's focus in your question. And yes, we have seen ongoing growth in all different markets across Europe, the Spanish language markets. Although I just came back from Mexico and attending the Guadalajara Book Fair, and meeting with many different U.S. publishers, and they have indicated to me that we've seen a small slowdown in the growth of audiobooks in the U.S. Unfortunately, due to the social and economic situation in the U.S., especially in the Spanish language community. But overall, I mean, 50% of the population in the U.S. currently listens to audiobook. So we still have another 50% of the population to reach out. So there's a lot of room to growth. And in Europe, I mean, the average in the Southern European markets, we have less than 20% of the population listen to audiobooks. So we have 80% growth potential. And the Central European, like Germany and the US and the Nordics, is a much more mature markets, and it's similar to the US. So we have 60 to 50% growth potential. So there's a lot of things to do in the next 5 years to come.
And the Guadalajara International Book Fair just concluded. It's an annual event at the beginning of December, and it's the last big event on the global publishing calendar. It includes a special audio forum, and so I want to ask you about Spanish language audiobooks. They do very well in many countries, including in the U.S., but market development in Mexico has struggled somewhat. So what are the challenges, Javier, for Spanish language audiobooks in Mexico, and how might publishers and platforms overcome those challenges?
Yeah, the Spanish language markets, we are slow-driven growth markets, meaning we're going to see the full potential and the revenue derived from the investment that the publishers and the streaming platforms are doing in the region, I think, in the next 2-3 years. So a little bit of patience, because the last 5 years, basically, we've been building the catalog. This year, we'll end the year with more than 50,000 Spanish audiobooks available in the Spanish markets. If we had this conversation 5 years ago, there were less than 10,000. And there's some indicators that said that when you reach the 50,000 mark, you have the cruise level, meaning that there is enough audiobooks available for the different listener tastes. Meaning that if you like romantasy or fantasy or history or fiction or nonfiction, you will find something of your taste. Okay, so that has been one of the challenges: lack of catalog. The second one has been also lack or the entrance of more players into the region. We had Storytel 5 years ago entering in Mexico, and then it was followed up with Podimo, and then Audible came to market, and we expect more players to come. We see Skillo also landing in the region. They just launched in Mexico, and they are also operating in Colombia and Argentina and more countries next year. And also we expect other bigger platforms coming into the region, and this will basically make the whole market more competitive and more people discovering audiobooks for the first time. So that will be also very good news. And also one thing is making the access to audiobooks competitive, meaning taking in consideration the economy of Mexico. And actually Netflix has done this very well. And I strongly advise streaming platforms when deciding which pricing they're going to do for Latin America to basically compare what's the pricing of Netflix in the region, because basically will be up to 60% discounted from what you charge in the US or in Europe. So those three items, catalog, platforms, and pricing, I think those three together, hopefully we'll see growth in the region in the next 2-3 years.
In 2025, Javier, the buzz generated over AI and audiobooks noticeably changed. The volume got louder, but the chatter, to me anyway, seemed less frantic and more planful, even hopeful. You authored a white paper for the Frankfurt Book Fair on AI and audio. It identified more than 160 audio AI-driven tools and services, from creation of synthetic voice engines to simultaneous translation. So how quickly are audiobook publishers adopting such tools and services?
Yeah, this is very, very interesting. As you said, we published the report for the Frankfurt Book Fair in English, and we just updated and translated the report for the Phil Guadalajara Book Fair. And in less than 2 months, we identified close to 200. So we had 160 tools available for publishers in October. And by the end of the year, we identified close to 200, as I said. So next year, when we do the next edition, I'd imagine we'll reach the 500 mark very, very easily. So yes, there's been a complete change of mindset from very cautious. So I don't want to speak about this bluntly. You know, many publishers and streaming platforms, when I ask them to comment on this topic, they say, Javier, thanks, but no thanks. I don't want to make any comments on this. To basically, everyone is testing. Everyone is using different tools, from marketing to production to distribution to metadata to even creation of content. And I think that's the smart way to do it, because what we have seen is that AI tools are here to stay, and also to allow the publishing community not only to save costs and not only to save time in the audiobook production, but most importantly to me, is to grow the category, meaning to reach more listeners, to reach more audiences by either creating new stories that will engage those listeners, but also to be smarter in the way we go to market, because thanks to AI, we're going to be much more quick and at the same time much more targeted in our marketing strategies and operation ones as well.
Well, Javier Celaya, thank you so much for joining me in 2025 on The Spoken World, and Happy New Year. Feliz Año Nuevo.
Happy New Year to you, and talk to you soon next year.
That's all for now. Our producer is Jeremy Brisky of Burst Marketing, and Rob Simon is our executive producer. The Spoken World covers the latest news in the global audiobook market and features exclusive interviews with audio industry leaders, analysts, and innovators. Learn more at spokenworld.media and subscribe on all major podcast and streaming platforms. I'm Christopher Keneally. Join me again soon on The Spoken World.